Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill news for Friday night live stream. I just want to thank everyone for joining me and all of you tonight here in this room, talking about some really cool things. We are going to be speaking with a couple of individuals who are going to talk to us about the importance of water, and lots of secrets, lots of interesting information. We're going to be speaking with Mike and Pat Cassidy, and then after Mike and Pat are done, we are going to have Dr. Francesca Colantuna. She's going to be answering questions. But first, you guys, we are going to have my good friend Erin Moffett, LadyLiberty 17, actually. She has done a recent rebrand. There is her YouTube channel right there. We're going to get her on the phone right now, and we are going to talk about the Boule. Let's see. And here we go. Erin, welcome. How's everybody doing tonight? Can you guys hear me in the chat room? Let's see, Arizona in the house, Tampa, Florida in the house, Maryland, Kentucky, Chicago, all aboard the train, Texas. Let's see, Lev Josiah Woods, what's up, buddy? Woodstock, Canada, Norway, Pasadena, Maryland. There we go. Australia, Indiana, Utah, Texas, Aylesbury, another Texas, Central Florida, Greensboro, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin, Wyoming, Virginia. Oh, let's get over here on the screen with Erin. And Erin, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you this evening?
I am doing great. I'm in Helena, Montana, doing a gun show.
Oh, cool.
So it's fun.
Awesome. I want to thank you very much for joining us on the program tonight. We've got some very important things to talk about, but before we get into the main subject, oh, hey, Patriot Lady Biker, good to see you. Before we get into the main event, you're going to be doing something here tonight, aren't you? You're going to be doing a raffle.
Yes, so I'm going to start a raffle. I'm going to put it up after we're done talking. It's going to be in my community page on my YouTube. A lot of people miss the community page sometimes, but that's where it's going to be. And I'm going to decide on an...
Oh, no.
And we're going to have spots for it. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, lost you for a second there. So,
okay.
What did you say? What you were going to be raffling?
Yes, we'll do gold, and it might be as much as a quarter ounce. And so all I have to do is just figure out how many spots, because I don't like to do too many spots because it's fun to win.
Sure.
And so the less spots, the better. And then I'll decide a price. I will post that after this in my community page on my YouTube. And not a lot of people look at the community page.
Yeah.
And so that's where they'll need to go. And then I'll have just how it works. And it's really simple. And we'll have people read that, and they'll know exactly what to do just by looking at that. And so if you want to win gold, because by the way, congratulations, Red Pill, because Red Pill won 2.5 grams of gold last night.
Oh, that's right. I won 2.5 grams of gold last night. How cool. I got a couple of notes from people in the audience that your audio was much louder than mine. So you guys, I turned Erin down just a little bit, so just let me know how she sounds now.
Yeah, I get close to this mic, and it's a really good mic, so...
All right, so 2.5 grams of gold. I'm pretty excited about it, you guys, and I did buy a couple of spots, so it's a legitimate raffle.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, and I do everything's live, so everyone can go back and actually see how you won, because they were all on the list, and then we do random.org, which is a website that trusted rafflers, all people who raffle lots of stuff, use, and that's how we do it.
Awesome stuff. Okay, let me get you a little bit bigger here for the audience. There we go. Now we don't see everybody else's messages and stuff. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the Boule tonight. Who are the Boule? You know, I've seen you do a couple of videos about them, and I know that probably a lot of the audience hasn't seen it. So tell us who the Boule are.
Well, it's hard to say exactly, but what I know is that they come from Black secret societies. And so when you look at where it comes from and what's required of them, they are required to belong to a Greek collegiate society of one of what's called the Divine Nine. And these Divine Nine are fraternities and sororities only for Black people.
Okay.
And so what it basically is the controllers over the Black community. And it really isn't talked much about. I definitely get called racist on a regular basis, and people are offended. but it's usually white people that are offended by what I'm talking about. And I oftentimes have Black people that either agree or they're not sure. But what we find out is we look at who people were in Greece, and you say, why are Black people connecting to that? Why do they want to be Greek when they have their own ancestry and their own history that the Greeks kind of hijacked? But I'm not going to give away too much of that.
Right.
Because I'll be making a video on that soon.
Excellent. Well, okay, so the Boule, it's essentially a Greek organization. So it's like a fraternity for Black people.
Well, yes, but you have to. So it is, because the Divine Nine are fraternities and sororities, 4 and 4, but it also includes the Boule, which makes the Divine Nine, and it's a Pan-Hellenic group, which is, I have videos on this, so I'm not going to go too deep.
Okay.
But when you think Pan and Hellenic, none of these are, they're Greek things, and then the god Pan being pansexual, being part of everything. And so it's still a Greek secret society, but to be in the Boule, you have to be part of the Divine Nine at one point in your life, but older than 45 years of age, and you have to be elite, well off, and you also have to be an NAACP member. And I will say there's a huge Freemason connection. And real quickly, I could talk about this a while, but when you go back to the old times of Greece, there's a lot of similarities between Egyptians and Greeks. And I think Greeks tended to possibly take a lot of that from the Egyptians and kind of make it their own.
Yeah.
Well, so they've been oppressed a long time, and this is not about a race thing. It's not a race thing. This is whether we want to learn truth or not. And this is where I've been led. But we go back in time now more recently, and Black people were not allowed to be part of the Freemasons. Well, instead of saying,
Prince George.
The Prince Hall? Yeah.
Prince Hall.
So Freemasons had white only, and they said, you can't be a part of this. So instead of them saying we should do our own African society, they said, can we please make our own Black Freemason group then? And they finally said after 10 years, sure, here you go. And they named them the Prince Hall Masons after the man named Prince Hall who helped create it with 13 other Black men. And so now, if you look at that, it's kind of like they're becoming part of the culture of their oppressors from going very, very far back.
So you said that they have to be 45 years old. So this is definitely like a stepping stone. I just saw a super chat from Sue Ellen Bauer. Thank you very much for that super chat, Sue Ellen. So what are the steps before the Boule? Like, I mean, somebody mentioned Tri Lambda. If you've seen, I believe it was Revenge of the Nerds. That was like the African American fraternity when you're in college. So, to get to the Boule, do you have to be a member of other groups in order to reach that point?
You have to have at least been one of the 4 fraternities or 4 sororities that are in the Divine Nine. I don't have them all memorized because I mess them up anyway because it's Greek and I don't know Greek, right? But Boule itself is Greek. That means to assist the king. Well, who's the king, right? Not the African king. And so, yes, you have to be a part of those fraternity sororities. You have to pledge to Skull and Bones once a year, every May.
Wow.
Yeah. So you have to pledge to Skull and Bones every year in May. And then at this point, you have to have become, I don't know all the steps.
Yeah.
We're all learning together. And that's why I make the videos, because I learn, because I research it, I start to understand it, and then I talk about it. And then when new stuff comes along, I add it, to the YouTube every time. But yes, by 45, you're eligible, and you are required to become an NAACP member, which are supposed to be the people that are helping them get out. But there's no getting out, not if they've got the Boule in control.
So who are some famous Boule members that you've tracked down?
Obviously Colin Kaepernick, but anybody, Jesse Jackson, anybody that's been in any kind of power. And you can start asking me a lot of questions, but I don't have a list in front of me. But if you look at anybody who's definitely mulatto, not a lot of the dark-skinned Black people, but you look at the mulattoes, like Karen Bass is a congresswoman who is connected to Nipsey Hussle, and I did a whole video about that.
Yeah, that was a very good video.
And so when you look at how a congresswoman is connected with the Crips, and she's in Congress, the highest state of office for someone like her to be in, and involved with the Crips and involved in murder of someone like that for not exactly sure why yet, then you can say that, well, if we're looking at politicians, we're looking at sports, we're looking at social media, we're looking at the news media, Hollywood, all of music, obviously the hip hop industry, that Jay-Z's involved. Now, here's the thing. Now, if they weren't Divine Nine, they can't be Boule. but they can certainly be helping the Boule. And if they aren't 45 or older, they're not Boule.
So what do you think it is about that age of 45? I mean, is it that they figure at that point people are going to have reached a certain level of success in their life, or is there something magical about that number?
It's probably goals too, and maybe it's part of the, they have all these degrees that you get to in Freemasonry, right? So maybe that's what the time it takes. Again, these aren't all questions I have all the answers to.
No, and it's okay.
But yeah,
I just want to spitball on
sure.
it.
No, yeah, and I mean, I have a whole book on the Boule that I've been reading, and I have very few sources, you guys, because this is not talked about at all. And so I have a book I've been reading. I haven't finished it, but it's what I'm going to talk about has to do with a few different things I've come together with. See, a lot of times what I tend to do is there's these guys that know a lot about it, so I tend to kind of remake what they've said. I rephrase a lot of it, and I give them all the credit. One of them even came and watched my video on Nipsey Hussle that he pretty much put together. And then I add my own connections to it here and there, and there's stuff that they didn't do. But a lot of it, I'm just trying to understand it and repeat it. But this one is going to be a lot of my own connections coming from a lot of what I'm starting to understand about all of it. And real quickly, I was going to mention Marcus Garvey because he was a very big proponent to telling Black people, let's go back to Africa. And he would say what's good for the Rockefellers is good for the Black people. And they had their own gold mines and their own silver mines and their own diamond mines that they could have gone back, and their lands are lush for growing.
Yeah. I mean, Africa's a continent,
And some of that area is possibly where the Garden of Eden was originally anyway. And so he was saying he had millions of people ready to go back with him. He had ships building and all these things. And guess what they did? They jailed him for mail fraud. He went to prison, and when he came back out, he couldn't ever get the movement to go again.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, Erin. I am getting just spammed by bots, and there's so many people are having a hard time getting them all. I don't. This
fine.
It's just something very new. It's really disturbing.
Not fine for you, but yeah, that's going to happen more and more as the AI and algorithms change because they're coming in probably collecting data about what we're talking about.
Yeah. So let me see. So Marcus Garvey, you're saying that Marcus Garvey was not part of the Boule. He was someone that stood in the way of whatever goals the Boule had in place.
Yeah, so much so that he had 2 million followers, and they had to stop him. And of all things, they got him on mail fraud, and he was jailed.
Yeah. I remember in college having to read Marcus Garvey. It was like a book of poetry or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and they twist the truth. They want you to believe Africans were light skinned. They want you to think, that the Greeks were some kind of intelligent philosophical society. And maybe they weren't. We're all intelligent. But what they keep doing is they compare Black people to animals on a regular basis. That they've done a poll that there's a lot of people that still think the Blacks come from apes and not the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't think that any of us come from apes, to be perfectly honest.
Well, of course
with
we
you.
Don't.
Yeah.
No, none of us do.
None of us.
But the problem is that old seated, programming and bias, and it's what my concern is specifically to the Boule is, why is it the least known? And why does it seem to be the least cared about? And why is it the least talked about? Is it because no one cares? Or is it because it's the most secretive? And I think it's a little bit of both, because it's hard to get the information because there's not much out there, but it is out there and people are afraid to talk about it. Not me. You can call me racist all day long. It won't be the first or the last time.
Well, it's so ridiculous to call someone a racist just for talking about something that has to do with race. We've got a group which is actually, it's entirely Black or African American, however you want to phrase it. And, it's an exclusive group. And if that type of group existed under any other name or any other race, that would be, considered racist, but not you talking about it. You would be considered a progressive for highlighting that information and bringing it to the people's consciousness. But, it's, I think one of the reasons probably I've been thinking about it is that there tends to be a greater level of in-group trust and respect among the African American community. And I don't say that without having any evidence to back it up. I mean, there was recently a Pew Research study which showed all of the different, racial groups in the world and showed that, among African Americans, it was the highest percentage than anyone else. You know who had the lowest percentage? liberal whites.
Oh, man.
They had okay, so it's like a positive number in the African American community, and in the Caucasian community, it's a negative number. Like people who are like liberal, progressive white people do not like or trust other white people, but then Asians, Hispanics, African Americans, they all like and trust each other. So it really does boggles my mind the way that they have constructed the the conversation about race in the world, because it exists, but it's now something that you can't talk about unless you're discussing people in a denigrating way and they happen to be white.
And what you said is exactly right, because think about a party, right? And there's a lot of white people and there's one black person and they see another black person, they're going to migrate directly to that other black person.
Yeah.
And that's because they're going to have this like camaraderie that we just don't like. Maybe we would do it in a group of party, like a bunch of black people, one white person, but honestly, I'm not sure I would, because if I was invited, I'm not sure I would do that. But the point is that has to do with the movie I'm going to be talking about too. So this is going to be a 2-part video that I'm doing, because the first part's going to go into a lot of history, and then it's going to go all the way back to the Garden of Eden again. I've done another video like that, but this is a different subject this time. But in the second part, I'm going to be like breaking down that movie Get Out, because it was chock full of amazing stuff. Like, I mean, there was the obvious stuff that they wanted you to see, that probably the regular person go there and go, oh yeah, cool. And then I even read up on other people who do Illuminati stuff on what they saw. And then I saw even so much more than that. And it's like, if I didn't do it in 2 parts, it was going to be a 2-hour long video. So it won't be 2 hours, separate hours. I've got it down. The first part will be 20 minutes, probably 35 minutes on the second one, because I'm just going to have to leave some stuff out, because I could go on and on about that movie. There is so much in it. So much.
I've never seen it myself. But I mean, from you and I talking about it, it seems like it's something that would be worthwhile to see. I do need to say a couple of quick thank yous here. Earlier in the program, let's see, actually, YouTube is not cooperating with me, but I need to say thank you to Exploding Pumpkin Productions, B Dank, Sue Ellen Bauer, Make Mine Texas, and then, of course, my good friend, Mr. Dana, right there, the coiner of the phrase where we bark one, we bark all. So,
and we love it. We think it's hilarious.
Yes, yeah, we absolutely love it. All right, so what else interesting can you tell us about the Boule? I mean, how have they come to play just in society? I mean, is it just because there's only 2 books. You've only been able to find 2 pieces of nonfiction literature about them. So.
Well, obviously, so when I said, is it the most secretive or is it the least cared about? Obviously, because which one, the chicken or the egg, right? It's the most secretive because it's the least cared about, or it's the least cared about because it's the most secretive. I don't think it is actually a race thing, because I think when people hear about it, they find it very, very interesting. But, I specifically, the first video I ever did was on a Christian rapper. But you've got these other rappers that are definitely, there's a lot of MK Ultra Monarch mind control going on with these guys. And I know I bring this person up a lot, but you guys need to listen to me about this, because if you like rap at all, No Malice, he used to be Malice with the Clips, and his brother is Pusha T. This guy speaks so much truth in his lyrics. I didn't really understand some of it till I started looking into this. And so he is actually another source of mine, because he won't talk about it, he used to have a podcast. He won't talk about it there, but he says it in his lyrics. And he was the first person that I ever was like, what is this song about? And it's something about Marina Abramovich and spirit cooking. It's been pulled off of YouTube. You can't find it anymore. I wish I would have downloaded it. I've tried to reach him, but I can't.
Might be on like DLive or a BitChute or something like that.
I need to look other places, because that video for sure was saying a lot before I really knew what it was saying. It's probably one of the first big red pills I ever took, was to look into who Marina Abramovich was, and probably everybody here knows. Yeah,
that was a tough pill to swallow. So I just want to say, Ebola outbreak map keeps saying that they have Sean Hannity's personal phone number.
Right above.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if are you asking just anybody in the chat to call Sean Hannity and his producers tonight, or are you trying to solicit myself or Erin to call Sean Hannity and his producers? I mean, I would
know
love.
I'm not calling.
I mean, if, as long as Sean Hannity knows I'm calling, I would call him, but I don't want to just, pop in on his personal cell phone, slide into his DMs without
You might
any.
look a little psychotic.
Yeah, I don't think that would look good. Uh, so, so going back to this, when are there any other people who have like spoken out about the Boule, like anything more than a passing reference? Is there any other like rappers or any stars that you've like found instances of them like talking about it, or maybe themselves being a member? No.
No, and so one of the guys I go to was a member, and he says he's like, I hate that I was not a member of the Boule, but he was a member of one of the Divine Nine. He goes, but I'm not sure I would have some of this knowledge if I hadn't been a member of this particular fraternity. And he's been talking about it for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And the other guy was a Black Panther from like the very first starting out years of it. And I finally found some stuff. He doesn't talk a lot about that in his website. You guys, I don't send people to these websites because it's so much information. You can't just pop up on Prince Ray's website and go, oh yeah, cool. It is mind blowing. And you have to start reading his stuff regularly and listening to him regularly, because he finally got a YouTube, but he told me it took him 4 days to try to upload the last video. And then I don't think it ever did upload. So I don't just send them to his page. It's almost like I'm trying to recreate it so that I can tell it to everybody, because I couldn't just say, oh, hey, you should go rent. It's like Neon Revolt's difficult. This guy's even more difficult.
Yeah.
It's like you got to go back and read all the other articles and then it's article after article after article. And it's like, oh, and pretty soon now I can understand what he's saying, because I'm starting to make those connections because I've been reading him long enough, which is why I'm trying to make the videos I'm making, because I could send you all to his website, but he can't even get into it anymore. WordPress locked him out. I mean, I think it's really hard to get this information. So there was a white woman at one point in the press, and I'm blanking on her name, but I can get it easily enough. And of course she died, pray for me, because she died of an odd death at a young age. So this is big information that we are trying to share with people. It's dangerous. I pray about it. Please pray for me on this, because I don't know what that means, but I know that God is pushing me into this. He brings me information in a way that I can understand, and I have to share it. And I feel that is the steps I'm supposed to take, and I'll either be protected or what will happen is supposed to happen. But I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, knowledge is a good thing. And, obviously if this has not been talked about because it's been specifically suppressed, I think it's an even better thing to get it out. And then the more people that you can expose it to, the more people that are talking about it, the less dangerous it is for you to be doing that. So definitely, you guys, if you are not subscribed to Erin, you guys, I highly suggest you go and subscribe. She's an excellent researcher. She makes really, really crisp and cool videos. She puts a lot of time into them. And I'm very, very happy that we ended up meeting and then, connecting like this. So you got a couple other things going on besides being a YouTuber, and then, of course, your active Twitter career.
Yeah, Twitter, yeah. So I'm more active on Instagram, but I am and I'm not. But what I do, I have a gold and silver business, which is why I do the raffles. And raffling gold I just started doing because it's a little bit more expensive, and I just wanted to make sure everybody wanted to get on board. But that raffle went great. I'm so excited that you won, and a few other people won some things that haven't won anything yet. So it's exciting to get in on. If you win, you're paying far less than you'd ever pay for a whole piece of gold or silver. However, sometimes you don't win. So I work for a company that sells at dealer prices, and it's called 7K Metals, and it's just 7kmetals.com and then /LadyLiberty. But what it is it's also a network of friends. I've made a lot of friends. We come together and we've helped each other out. And that's why I'm doing this gun show with a couple other people that are also in the company with me. We just bring our gold and our silver, and we do sell some of it, but mostly we're just trying to share and educate people. And that's what I do. I tell people, if you don't even want to join my business, you can email me and I will still answer your questions, because everybody deserves to understand the truth about money. Everybody deserves to know how they should start. Everybody should know what they should be able to buy and if it's a good deal, because it's only fair that we all know. I got to know, and I didn't come to the party till 2 years ago. So everybody else should get to know. So even if you don't want to get in on that business with me, you can email me and I will still answer questions on that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You know, I mean, it's great to get the information. It's great to be able to enrich yourself with actual wealth, because we know that the paper in our wallets, the fiat currency, it has absolutely no value. I need to say thank you to Lady Warrenon. She says, love you all. Love you too. I'm glad you're here. I need to say thank you to Michael Kenny. He says, hi, everyone, 17. Thank you both for those super chats. So we got about 5 minutes left, Erin.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us how this raffle is going to work?
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll post a picture of what we pick, and it's first come, first serve. I haven't decided how many spots yet, but it's never more than 15, because I don't want it to be, when I do get in on raffles, I want to win, right? So I don't want it to be a lot of spots. And then it just depends on the price of the gold that makes the price of the spots. And so it's first come, first serve. So I can see comments in order.
Hey, there he is.
You guys can see comments in order if you say see in order, whatever, but it's going to be in the community. Okay, it's going to be in the, are we good? Or, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll be 2 more seconds. It won't take long, but it'll just be in the community thing. If people just go in and check, they'll see how many spots are still taken and how many aren't, because I will update it regularly. Because even though I'm at this gun show, I have internet, I have everything I need to be able to check into that. And so as soon as somebody says, nobody gets those spots except for so you come in and you say, I want 1, 3, and 5, I will see that. And I won't put anyone else in there because you were the first one to say it. So even if you don't see your name in there yet, I will do that. It will happen in the order that it comes in. And then I'll have a PayPal account listed or a Cash App account listed to pay for those spots. And it'll be super easy. And I will update it with the new spots every day, or hopefully it goes in one day. Who knows? Sometimes these things go pretty fast. Usually 2 days is the longest I've ever had a raffle.
Yeah.
So it can go quickly.
It's the first time that I've ever won gold in a raffle too, so I was pretty excited about that. I can't wait to get it. I need to say thank you to White Hat. White Hat, thank you very much. He says, next week could be interesting. Eyes open. What's up, Red Pill? Not much, brother. What's up with you? All right, so just to recap, we've got a couple of different places for you guys to go to find Erin. We do have her Patreon down below in the description. We've also got her PayPal, which is where you will go to buy your spots for the raffles. Elizabeth Miller, thank you very much for that super chat. We've also got her Twitter. We've got her YouTube. And did you have any other websites? You've got your personal 7K website, right?
Yeah, 7kmetals.com/LadyLiberty. And I am on Instagram. But, just email me if you guys have questions. It's so easy. It's ladyliberty@countermail.com, like the countertop. Countermail.com, ladyliberty@countermail.com. Email me if you have any questions about all this other stuff, if you don't know where to go, and I will guide you to it. And like I said, even if you don't want to get in on my business, I'll still help you. I'll answer questions about gold and silver.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, Nun just said...
I thank you.
I always thank you. I'm glad that you're here with us. Nun just said, can you dox yourself again, Red? I missed it the first time. Hopefully not. I'm going to accidentally dox myself here in a minute, because the placement of my card on the screen is not going to be in the right spot. So I'm going to have to fix that before we go into the next set of guests. All right, Erin. Well, thank you once again for joining us. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. God bless.
Yeah, no problem. And somebody just said, what's her email again? It's in the description of the video below.
LadyLiberty@countermail.com.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Erin, we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. All right, guys. And unfortunately, hold on, I'm going to have to fix my video here. All right, guys, and 1 second. Let me go here, and let me change that. Oops. Great. Okay, great. It is fixed. Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience. Thanks for joining me. And we are now on to our second guests. We are going to be talking tonight about the truth about water, the silent crisis. We're going to be debunking the myths, exposing the truth about the most vital nutrient for the human body and the foundation of life on this planet. So I'd like to introduce you to Mike and Pat. as well as Dr. Francesca Colantuna. How are you folks all doing tonight? Sorry for that, guys. I didn't realize I was still muted on your end. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we are live. You guys are on, and I've introduced you as Mike and Pat. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Excellent. And then also we have Dr. Francesca Colantuna. How are you today, Dr. Francesca? Can you hear us?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, we're glad to have you. Okay, so we're going to be starting with Mike and Pat. So, Mike and Pat, tell us a little bit about yourselves and why you're here tonight.
Hi, this is Mike. Happy to be here tonight. Wanting to give you a little information about our background. Pat and I are brothers. We've been business partners for many, many years. And we started in business together. I was right out of college. Pat had just gotten out of the Marine Corps. And neither one of us wanted to get a real job. So we decided to go into business for ourselves and start a farming operation. And that was a time when there was no-till farming was emerging. It used a lot of chemicals, some of the chemicals that were in Agent Orange, actually. And over 10 years, we built a huge operation, but we paid a huge price for it. And by the time I was in my mid-30s, I ended up in the hospital with almost total kidney failure. And that was basically because I was poisoned. I was poisoned by these chemicals. And that was a kind of a turning point in our thinking and in the direction we were going. And, I decided that this wasn't working for me. I had to make some changes. So we started looking into true principles of health, how to take care of ourselves, how to detox and what the body really needs to be healthy and to perform at an optimum level. And for the last 20, 25 years, we've been teaching people about this thing.
And it comes down to water, apparently.
Water is kind of the foundation of life on this planet. Okay, nothing can live without water. Humans can't live for more than about 3 days without water. So doesn't it make sense to use the best possible source of that nutrient, the best water that's really designed to work in the body the way it's supposed to?
Definitely. I mean, the idea of water quality is huge because, you get water clean from the tap, or so you think, but it's just loaded with all kinds of nasty things. I mean, chlorine, for an example, very reactive in the body. You're ingesting tons of chlorine on a daily basis, and then all kinds of other things that are leaching through the pipes. Fluoride is a huge issue for me. That's what I wrote my master's thesis on, was the efficacy of water fluoridation. And it just doesn't work. The science isn't there. And not to mention the fact that the type of fluoride that they put in the water, sulfur hydrofluorosilicic acid, it's a byproduct of the aluminum smelting and the phosphate fertilizer industry. So we are paying through our tax dollars to allow these corporations to put poison into our water. So when you're putting that junk into your body, it's just not doing you any good.
Well, some of the things we want to touch on tonight is first of all, poison. We are poisoning the planet, we're poisoning our water, we're poisoning our food, and we're poisoning ourselves.
Yep. And
water is a big carrier for a lot of that, whether it's in food or whatever. So we want to cover some of those things tonight.
Well, by all means, we had a list of specific things here. Chemical companies, plastic companies, bottled water companies, they're making so much money off of water. This is a business. The additives that they put into it, the bottles that they package this water into, pumping it out of places like the Great Lakes, having your own ability to get clean water is significantly diminished by the industries behind this stuff.
Redfield, this is Pat. One thing that most people don't realize is just how misinformed we are from the different huge corporations, whether it's the chemical company or the plastic companies. I know Mike said earlier that we went into business when he got out of college. I just got out of the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I could run 10 miles, play racquetball for 3 hours, not even think about it. 10 years later, I can hardly get out of bed in the morning. And Mike is in the hospital with almost total kidney shutdown. And that was the kind of when the light bulb went on and we started to investigate chemicals. I mean, we were told that they were safe. And then we started to find out that they weren't. And then we started to tell other people about some of the research that we did. And then we started to do presentations for people to teach them about the connection between chemicals and heavy metals and things like that and chronic disease. So we've been on this evolution for quite some time now, probably about 25 years. And that's when we met Dr. Francesca Colantuna, and she's been part of our journey. But what we want to do tonight, we want to bring up a PowerPoint and just talk about some of the things and some of the research that we have been involved with over the years. And at the end of the program, we'll make sure that people have a link to go to that they can download an ebook. And for the people that do that, we'll give them the links to the different research articles that we're talking about tonight. So,
real quick, before you go into that PowerPoint, I do just need to give a couple of thank yous to the audience. I need to say thank you to Exploding Pumpkin Productions. They said we need to pray against the demonic trolls. Exact same attack as Abel Danger today. M. Biggs said you're a prince, Red Pill. What's your master's in? Public administration. And Michael Kenny said $2 for the moderators. Keep it up. Okay, thank you for that, gentlemen. Go ahead and continue to that PowerPoint.
Okay, well, I'm going to see if I can do a screen share and bring up a PowerPoint.
Now, as you're bringing that up, I don't know if you guys have the chat going like on a separate screen there, but see a lot of people asking questions about distilled water, reverse osmosis, all of specific information about different types of water. We're going to be able to ask Dr. Francesca at the end, I believe.
Right, and we're going to get into a lot of that kind of stuff as we go along. So and Mike and I know for a fact that we're in the midst of a massive health crisis. Now, we also know that most people think that everything is okay. And we know that from looking at the facts, and if you really look at the facts, you find out that things are not okay. And so you have to look at what we're up against. So we know if we just look at the cancer rate, we know the cancer rate in America was about 1 out of 24 like 100 years ago. And today, it's 1 out of 2 men. It's one out of 3 women.
Now, gentlemen, we can't see the PowerPoint.
You cannot see the PowerPoint.
Cannot see the PowerPoint, no.
Okay. How about now? Can you see it?
Nope. Still just you guys.
Sure. Hit share again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's not coming up on the screen.
Okay, well, that's no problem. You guys can just talk about the information. That's fine.
Okay. Well, in that case, so we know that we have a crisis in America with 1 out of 2 men, 1 out of 3 women who are going to get cancer sometime in their lifetime. And we also know that the biggest killer of children under 14 is now cancer. The one thing that comes as a big surprise for a lot of people is the dog cancer rate. So we know that 50 years ago, the cancer rate for dogs was 1 out of 50, so it was about 2%. Today, it's about 1 out of 1.6, so it's like 62%.
Yeah, my Labrador died of cancer.
Well, it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
What's going on. So if we look, if we look at the UN chart for longevity and life expectancy and health that they have out, they list the top 40 countries in the whole world. And you would think that with the amount of money that we spend on healthcare, which is over $2 trillion a year, that we would be like in the top 1 or 2. And when I ask people about that, they tend to think that that's where we are. Well, Japan is number 1, and
Japan is number 1 with Fukushima.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
Even with Fukushima.
Wow.
And 8 years ago, we were number 40.
Wow.
Just to give you some idea, Cuba was 37.
Wow.
Now we're not even on the chart. We have slipped into like 42. And the new generation of kids that are coming up are not expected to live as long as their parents.
That's right. Yep.
I mean,
First generation
we've been
in a long
given
time.
this incredible gift of life expectancy that's been increasing generation after generation, where our parents and our grandparents have given us, this longevity. And now, on our watch, it's going the other way. And so we have to ask why. So we live. I really wish you could see this PowerPoint, but we live in a world of chemicals, and there's a lot of things that we don't have control over. Like, we don't really have direct control over what's being dumped in our waterways. We don't have control over what's being released into the air for the most part, or the crop duster that's out there spraying chemicals. But there are things that we do have control over. And one thing that Mike and I are going to talk about tonight is what we have control over. What can we do? So one thing we have control over is single-use plastic bottles. And the other thing we have absolute control over is household cleaners and chemicals. And for a lot of people, they don't think that that's a big issue, but
oh no,
we're going to get into that.
Yeah, we know that's a huge issue here.
Okay, well, there was a study released not too long ago from Denmark, and it was a 20-year study involving 6,000 people. So it's a long-term, huge study. And what they found was that women that use traditional cleaning products, even once a week, have the same lung function negative impact as if they smoked a pack of cigarettes a day.
Whoa, that's big.
And yeah, that's one of the links that I want people to have later on. So we'll talk about how they can get that. But that is beyond big, and it really tells it tells an awful lot about why we have this problem with our dogs, why we have the problem with kids
And asthma.
So we know from the study that women that clean their house just once a week with traditional chemicals like Clorox and floor cleaners and things like that, they're 40% more likely to develop things like asthma and COPD,
which are at almost epidemic proportions in America. I mean, asthma used to be very rare, and now it seems like every other kid has asthma. They can't participate in sports, and I can see how that would be a correlation, because there's been a marked increase in the use of household chemicals. I mean, it used to be that people would have 1, 2, 3 things, but now there is a different chemical that you can use for absolutely everything in your house. Your windows, your countertops, your toilet, the inside of your shower, the outside of your shower. It doesn't matter what it is; they've got a product for it.
Well, for most people, when they open the cabinet under the sink, it's just full of every chemical known to man.
Yeah.
And what they need to realize is those chemicals don't stay under the sink. They come out from under the sink. They're applied throughout the house. Simple things like your dishwasher. When you put those little pellets loaded with chlorine and other things into your dishwasher, it volatilizes those chemicals. So if you're anywhere near that dishwasher while it's washing, you have volatilized chemicals that you're breathing in through your lungs and right into your bloodstream.
Through the exhaust.
One of the most dangerous places you could be is when that dishwasher is running with the chemicals that you're supposed to be using it. And we know that there's hundreds of thousands of man-made chemicals. And we have a book, it's called Reducing Environmental Cancer Risk, What Can We Do Now? And that book, it talks about the direct relationship between toxic chemicals, heavy metals, pesticides, and chronic disease. And in that book, it was put out by NIH and the National Cancer Institute for the President's Cancer Panel. And in that book, there's some startling information. It's 225 pages. And since that book came out in 2009, I have never met anybody that actually had that book unless I gave it to them.
Wow.
Now you can't get the book anymore, but I do have a link for it.
Okay, that'd be great. Now, did you write this book, or this is just a book that you tend to educate people with?
No, this is a book that was written by NIH.
Oh, the NIH. I'm sorry, I heard that.
And the National Cancer Institute for the President's Cancer Panel back in 2008. And they talk, some of the things that they talk about and really dwell on. One thing back then, now this is like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And they talk about BPA. And they said that 94% of Americans have BPA in their bodies. So that's just about everybody. And they talk about what BPA does. So we are, and in the book, they devote the better part of a whole page to talking about the 130 studies done prior to 2008 that connected BPA with early puberty, breast cancer, all kinds of chronic diseases. And some of these studies were done directly by NIH.
Right. Now, real quick, gentlemen, I just need to say thank you to Son of a Green Card. He said high quality H2O. That's right. He actually sent me some of the best natural spring water in America. I do appreciate that. God's Guy said, what do you know about the chemtrails? We're not going to be talking about that tonight, Guy, but I love you too, buddy. And Carissa Hartunian said, this is great. Thank you. And 27 Sparkle said, natural vinegar, homemade cleaning, the best. Thanks, guys. And then also Michael Kenny said, any idea on how to stop the absorption in a shower? From my research, there's nothing you can do to stop the absorption of those chemicals into your body when you're in the shower. Your skin is a highly porous organ. So if you've got, this treated water, like spraying all over your body, you're going to be absorbing it.
Well, exactly. And the only way to avoid that exposure is to somehow filter it out before it gets to your shower.
Right.
The chlorine is very damaging to your skin, your hair, plus, somebody who takes a bath in chlorinated water, when they get out of the bathtub, there won't be any chlorine left in the water. It's all gone into their body.
Yep. And I just have two more thank yous to say. Filled with Hope said, thanks for persevering, Red Pill. It's a shame the sound was so bad for me at the start of this interview, but it's better now. Thank God. Appreciate that. But they are really messing with you tonight. Yeah, we must be over the target on this subject, because this is we've had more trolls in the audience tonight than I've seen in the entire time I've been making videos. And God's Guy said, emergency microphone fund. Thanks, buddy. Thank you. All right, gentlemen. So I'm sorry. Please continue.
Okay, so we know that 90% of the children that are poisoned in the U.S. are poisoned at home, usually from household chemicals. And the ones that aren't poisoned, the ones that don't end up in the ER, just because of the low level of exposures, we have a rash of food allergies, asthma, diabetes, learning disabilities. And I know that, Mike and I, we talk about chemical toxicity all the time, because we've got that background where it almost took us out. But it's something that when people start to investigate that, they find that that can be a huge source of what their problems are. And we have a huge problem now with diabetes, learning disabilities, asthma, and that type of thing.
So you guys think it's all due to the preponderance of chemicals and everything that we use nowadays?
Well, that is a huge part of it. And we know that according to EPA, the average American spends 87% of their time indoors.
That's right.
So think about that for a moment. You know, people talk a lot about outdoor air quality, and that's extremely important. But where do people spend most of their time? Part of the reason for the problems that we're having with dogs is because now they've moved indoors for the most part.
Yep.
They're experiencing this level of toxicity like they've never seen before. I mean, you can have air quality inside that's 100 times worse than it is outside. And there was a study done that was published in the Lancet and in Time Health, and it talks about the cost to Americans related to household chemicals. And when I read it, I thought there was a misprint or something, because what they're saying is that the different chronic problems related to household chemicals cost $340 billion with a B, $340 billion a year.
That's an incredible number, and it's the thing about it is that it's not even just the products like the cleaning products and every other type of cosmetic or whatever it might be, but just the building materials that they use nowadays. You've got treated woods, you've got the drywall, maybe some paints. Do you guys remember the FEMA trailer disaster when every single person that was sleeping in a FEMA trailer kept getting sick because of the absorption of the chemical odors that was coming off of everything that it was built from?
Yeah, from the glue
Yep.
that they were using. Instead of using nails, they were using glue. Very, very toxic, causing massive free radical damage to people.
Yep.
The number, that $340 billion number, that's over $1,000 for every man, woman, and child. And what they're saying is that these chemicals are linked to just the obvious things, but obesity, autism, heart disease, endometriosis, intellectual disabilities, ADHD. I mean, it's, there's so much information out there. And some of it's been out there for quite some time, like the book that I was talking about a few minutes ago.
Yep.
It's been out there for 10, 11 years. And I haven't talked to anybody that really had that book or knew anything about it. So
one of the problems is that unless you're doing some type of advanced science program or you're in college, you have no reason to go on PubMed and look at these types of health studies, or unless you're reading an article that happens to quote one of these studies, but then they might paraphrase just a small piece of information. But there's so much information out there on the things that are making us sick, and it's just not presented to the public, or people don't know where to go to find this information.
Or it's like a show like yours, Phil, where you bring this information out there, and then people, they have a little bit of information to go on, and then they can start doing research that can really make a huge difference in their life. Yeah. And in the beginning, I said there's things that we have control over and things we don't have control over. And, one thing is the chemicals in our house. We've got 100% control over that. Later on, we'll talk about that a little bit, about, what's possible there. But simple things like dehydration, the brain is over 80% water. And if you're even 1% dehydrated, you lose 10% of your brain capacity. Now think about that one. We know that the brain's over 80% water. We know that over 80% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. And I don't know about you, but for Mike and I mean, we can't afford to lose 10% brain capacity.
No, neither can I.
So, so we got to work on that. But see, that's something that you have total control over. You don't have to be dehydrated. Your loved ones in nursing homes don't have to be dehydrated. Like 3/4 of the transports from a nursing home to the hospital is because of dehydration.
Yeah.
And these things can be solved.
Very, very easily avoided. And also one of the things is we've got all the industries that have popped up, selling us all these products. One of the last things that people will reach for if they're thirsty is water. I drink water exclusively, and if I don't drink water, I'm drinking fresh squeezed fruit juice, and I've got a juicer. I make celery juice every morning. It's great.
Well, fabulous. Well, you're on the right track there.
Yeah.
And at the end, we'll give people a link where they can download a ebook that will give them very, very valuable information. It's a 19-page ebook.
Good. People are very interested in specifics about what they can do, and we will get to that, guys. But there's a plan. Trust me.
Okay. Now we were going to play. We were going to play a very disturbing video for you, but since we can't do that.
Yeah. If one of you has the ability to email that video to me, I can play it here on my desktop, and we can let the audience see it that way. You can just respond to the email I sent you earlier, and then I can pull it up.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let Mike take over.
Okay.
And let him do his second part here.
Well, the video that we were going to show was about bottled water.
Okay.
And, most people have gone to bottled water, because they...
I'm sorry, Mike, can you move a little bit to your right? Because half your face is cut off. There we go.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So you can see me now.
Yep, we can see you now.
Okay. So, most people have gone to bottled water simply because they think it's safer.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's really no standards for bottled water. The EPA doesn't have jurisdiction over it, and the FDA has like one person that oversees the whole bottled water industry.
So when you say there's no standards, that literally means that any company can put H2O into a bottle and then sell it to you, and there's no testing. They don't have to have a certain mandatory minimum of certain elements found in it, like chlorine or dangerous chemicals.
There's the label. There's no labeling requirements. As far as where it's sourced from, if it's been tested, if it's been purified, and you'll. If you look at the research on it, you'll find that there's a lot of problems that have been discovered in bottled water. You have two problems. First, you have the bottle itself, and then you have the water that's put in it. Mm-hmm. And the bottle itself has BPA in it. It has 20 or more other plastic chemicals in it that leaches into the water over time. Mm-hmm. And of course, BPA is a hormone disruptor. Causes a lot of issues. With reproductive issues, prostate, breast cancer, and so forth. So you have that, and then the water that's put inside, most of it is reverse osmosis water. And I know someone asked about that earlier.
Yeah, that's what I use at home.
Well, the World Health Organization put out a report in 2004 about reverse osmosis, and that was never intended to be for human consumption. It was developed for industrial use to clean the scale off of steam turbines and so forth, and it's very effective for that. But it's totally devoid of minerals. Yes. And minerals are, first of all, essential to your body in balancing your body. But the key thing about minerals in water is that it conducts electricity. And our bodies run on millivolts of electricity. That's how the cells communicate. That's how the the brain communicates with all parts of the body. And if you don't have that electrical continuity in your body, you have miscommunications. And I'm sure Dr. Colantuna will talk more about that later. But the bottom line is reverse osmosis water is all right short term, but to drink it long term, it can create some problems with balancing.
So how do we fix that?
Well, the thought behind reverse osmosis to begin with was to get the toxins out of the water. And there's other ways. There's other ways to get the toxins out of the water without damaging the integrity of the water.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that this ebook will direct you to. That we're supplying the link for is what type of water you should be drinking. So reverse osmosis is really not a healthy water. The other thing about plastic bottles is that there's been research done on microplastics and how many microplastics are typically in a plastic bottle of water. And of the samples that they took from different companies, 16 different companies, the average was about 375 pieces of microplastic per liter.
So you drink that, it just goes right into your body. It's so small, it's probably just going to absorb into your body, right? I mean, you're not going to pass that out.
Exactly.
That's horrible.
So, and they also found that there's microplastics in tap water because there's a lot of microplastic microbeads put into toothpaste,
yes.
Cosmetics, different things. Body wash, shampoo, they go into the sewer system. The sewer system dumps into the river, and then downstream somebody pulls the water out again and drinks it, and they don't filter that stuff out. So
yeah, they can't. It just goes right through the filters. Yeah, it's a huge problem.
The other big problem with bottled water is it's terribly expensive. And to give you an example, a family of 4 drinking Fiji bottled water could spend $10,000 per year.
That's insane. I believe you, but that's just an insane amount of money to be spending on bottled water.
Yeah, and Fiji's one of the more expensive brands, but even Dasani and Aquafina, I mean, you're still looking, at 3,000 or 4,000 at least.
Yeah.
Plus they're discarding over 5,000 plastic water bottles. So
and that ends up out in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, you've seen that.
Yes, the Great Pacific Garbage Guy or something like that.
Yeah. So what's the real cost here? You have that $10,000 per year, but also you have the health costs that we talked about a little bit earlier. Mm-hmm. You have the disposal costs. You've got to pay taxes or garbage fees to get that stuff hauled away. To keep the landfill up. You're paying oil subsidies through taxes to make this. I mean, every plastic bottle is made from petroleum. Mm-hmm. So, in fact, we use enough plastic that the oil would run over 100 million cars a year in what we use in plastic bottles in 1 year. So, and then you have the environmental impacts, the cleanups. I mean, we all pay for that at some point, contamination of the food supply. And the thing that really scares me is the long-term food and water security. I mean, if you look at those plastic islands floating out in the ocean, what's that doing to the marine life and And, you know, there's so many people that depend on the oceans for their food supply.
Yeah.
So, you know, we really need to get a handle on that. More plastic was created from 2000 to 2010 than in the previous century. And some researchers are predicting that by 2050, there will be more pounds of plastic in the oceans than fish.
That's very scary to think about. And it doesn't just sit there. The animals ingest that stuff too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it ends up killing everything from whales down to, you know, to seabirds and
Turtles.
Because their stomach is full of plastic and they basically starve to death. So, you know, recycling is an option, but the reality is less than 10% of the bottles get recycled. And, you know, China used to buy our plastic trash, but as of January 2018, they stopped buying it.
They're producing enough of their own.
That's right. They're producing enough of their own, and with cheaper oil prices, it's more cost effective to make new plastic than recycle the old stuff. So you know, that's really a long-term problem that is going to be tough to manage. But you know, it starts with people saying no. I mean, if enough of us stop buying those disposable bottles, guess what? I mean, they stop making them.
That's right. We have to vote with our pocketbooks, guys.
Absolutely. And yeah, you really can't trust anybody else to take care of that for you. I mean,
No.
If you don't take responsibility for yourself, you know, nobody else has as much vested interest as you do.
That's right.
So you know, what about tap water? You know, a couple of years ago, I guess it was 2014, you know, Flint, Michigan got a lot of press out of their lead contamination problem. But Flint is only one of the places, you know, throughout the world. You know, there's over 2,000 water systems across the states that have been impacted by that.
Well, I think that the only reason Flint really came onto the scene is because they had cases of Legionnaire's disease. You know, I mean, they had been drinking water out of those lead pipes for generations now, you know. I mean, nobody said a thing about it. It was only when people started getting sick because they were sending contaminated river water into those taps.
Yeah, well, that definitely made the problem worse.
Yes.
But back in 2000, Washington, D.C., which is close to us here, they changed their disinfection chemicals from chlorine to chloramine. And that got really aggressive with the old lead pipes that were in the DC system. And they had a spike in the lead levels that was about 40% higher than what Flint, Michigan's was back in 2014.
Yeah.
So they had extremely high levels that weren't discovered until 4 years later.
You've got a lot of kids and a lot of elderly people and regular people all around just drinking horribly acidic water and nasty caustic stuff. That's just so awful. And they'll probably never know the true cost of that happening to people because they haven't been tracking it until things start getting really bad.
Well, true. In D.C., it was 4 years before they released that information. Started in 2000, and in 2004, they finally released the information about the lead. But it kind of makes you wonder, who's looking out for you? You know, they're supposed to test that water every single day.
Yeah. The bureaucracy.
So what in the world's happening there, huh?
Yeah.
Well, kids that are poisoned by lead are 7 times more likely to drop out of school, and they will earn about $1 million less over their lifetime.
Yep.
Plus, they're at a higher risk for pretty much everything,
Yeah.
hypertension, cardiac arrest, early death,
Kind of-
and not to mention the violent behavior that it creates.
It's almost like they're trying to kill us, guys, with everything that they're doing and everything they're not doing.
That's what I've been saying for years, is
Yeah.
they really are trying to kill us, and they're making money at it at the same time.
Yeah, it's a double whammy. I think they go to bed with big smiles on their faces every night.
So there's so many other things in the water supply, so many other chemicals that are extremely dangerous. Did you see the movie Erin Brockovich, which came out?
I did. I saw it in the theater, and I think I owned a copy at one time.
So 30 years ago, Erin exposed chromium-6.
Yes.
And well, today more than 200 million Americans are drinking water that have chromium-6 in it.
Still to this day?
Still to this day. So what's been done?
Nothing.
about that?
PG&E still around too.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, they survived the lawsuit and the payout, and I guess just went on to the business.
People have a notoriously short memory. This is another problem with the news, the constant 24-hour news cycle nowadays. It's like as soon as something comes out, that's why, what I'm doing here, this is one of the reasons why I'm doing it, to try to draw attention to certain things, because there will be a report on something, like, oh, we just figured out that everyone's going to die 20 years before they're supposed to, and it's due to this specific thing. And then, they'll put out something else. Trump, he tripped or something like that. And everybody is just talking about how he tripped, or he wasn't polite enough to some ambassador on the phone. It's ridiculous.
Well, if you look at where they get their funding from, it's the TV advertising, and if you try to watch the nightly news, you get like 40 pharmaceutical drug commercials. So I mean, they're going to talk about things that are benefiting their benefactors.
Yep, very true. Just need to say thank you to Sean W. Thank you, Sean.
So here's a quote from Erin Brockovich. She says, "It's inexcusable that the government has done so little to protect us from this chemical that has been shown to cause cancer even at insanely low levels."
Yep. That's why I'm so shocked that it's still in the water. I just can't even believe it. I mean, I guess it's hard not to believe this stuff nowadays.
And most water companies don't even test for it. And of course, there's thousands of things they don't test for. They only test for a handful of maybe 6 or 8 different chemicals.
Wow.
So a simple pitcher filter or refrigerator filter isn't going to really do what you need to do.
So like a Brita or something.
Yeah, I mean it'll take out a little bit of chlorine or whatever, but it's not going to get down to those chemicals like chromium-6 or PCBs or PFASs or I mean there's so many different things out there. So I believe that chemical toxicity in our lives is a big part of this public health problem.
But it's something that they're not talking about at all. I mean, that's not anywhere in the public consciousness. I mean, you don't hear people discussing this. They're not, nobody is out there with, with their fist raised in the air and crying out, at Procter & Gamble, why are you putting these chemicals all over us? James Rohrbach asked a question, what about trace minerals added to water? I mean, I would think that if you're adding trace minerals to whatever type of water you're drinking, you're still going to have everything else that was already in it when you started drinking it. Even if it's reverse osmosis, if you were to add these trace minerals to water, I mean, would that solve the issue of the electrified portion?
Well, that depends on the minerals. There's organic minerals and inorganic minerals. Mm-hmm. And inorganic minerals are not absorbable by your body. Now you can take those and put them on a tomato plant, and the tomato plant can utilize it and convert it to minerals that your body can use. But a lot of the things that are supplemented back into water are not absorbable by your body. And it gets back to staying close to nature. I mean, nature makes things the way your body is intended to.
Right. God has a plan.
And it's that way with water. I mean, 10,000 years ago, the water that was on this planet had certain characteristics that are not found in water today. And in fact, that leads me right into my next point about the 4 properties of the perfect drinking water.
Okay, perfect.
And number 1 is it needs to be free of contaminants and pollution, which is, and that's usually where everybody stops with water, like reverse osmosis. It gets rid of most of the contaminants. But there's 3 other very important factors. There's number 2 is the antioxidative effect of water.
Okay.
Number 3 is it needs to be the proper pH for whatever you're using it for. And in your body, it needs to be slightly alkaline or alkalized. Now there's a lot of confusion out there about alkaline water. And you can take a very acidic water and put baking soda in it, and it'll register alkaline on, with a pH meter.
Right.
But that's not something your body can use. It gets back to those, organic and inorganic minerals. Minerals, buffering minerals like calcium, magnesium, and so forth create alkalinity. But if they're inorganic, your body can't utilize them. So you want to make sure that the water's not only alkaline, but it's alkalized. So that's point number 3. And number 4 is that it's microclustered, which means that it's in small enough cluster sizes so it actually gets absorbed into your body. There's lots of people that drink a large quantity of water, but they're still dehydrated.
Because their body doesn't absorb it?
Yeah, because it just goes right through it. It doesn't actually go into the cell and detoxify the cell and carry oxygen, carry nutrients, and take away waste, like it's intended to do. So, I mentioned 10,000 years ago, the type of water that was on the planet was what was created for the human body, for the health of the human body. There's still a few places on Earth where you can find those. One is the glacier melt off the Himalayas, coming through the Hunza Valley. That water has these 4 properties.
And those people tend to live a lot longer, don't they? Hunza water people.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Lourdes, France. The healing springs of Lourdes, France.
Oh wow, okay.
It has these 4 characteristics.
Really?
That I'm talking about. But you buy a bottle of Dasani or Aquafina or go to your tap in Detroit or whatever, you're not going to find these. You may not find any of them.
What is the perfect pH for water for us to be drinking?
Well, it kind of depends on your lifestyle. I mean, your blood needs to be 7.35 to 7.45 a pH.
Okay.
And if it gets out of that range, you're basically going to die.
Okay.
So your body does everything to protect that pH of the blood, and it will cannibalize other parts of the body to get the nutrients that it needs to balance out acidity. Right. So, calcium, magnesium, it pulls those out of the bones, the teeth, the muscle tissue if the body's too acidic. So if you have a very acidic lifestyle, very acidic diet, you're drinking things like soda that's extremely acidic, 2.5 to 4 pH. You're going to need a much higher pH level to balance that out. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah.
Okay. So, the toxic chemicals, you can filter those out if you have the proper type of filtration. The antioxidants, the oxidative stress is a major cause of most chronic diseases. I mean, it creates inflammation, it speeds up aging, it causes aches and pains. And if you look at pretty much every major disease out there, it's got a root cause of inflammation.
That's right. I was just going to say that.
So, and Dr. Colantuna can talk more about this, when she's up. And but very basically, the disease, the pharmaceutical approach to disease is to manage the symptoms, right?
That's right. Yeah, there's a lot more money in management than there is in a cure.
Well, there's long-term job security in that. How many of these drugs actually cure something?
Not many. Not many. It's all about management.
It's all about management.
Yeah.
And so, I want to look at the root cause. I mean, what are the root causes of these diseases?
Yeah.
And I think if you look at oxidative stress, acidic stress, and dehydration, and add in the toxic chemicals that you're eating, breathing, and drinking, in your drinks, you're going to find the root causes. So the oxidation level, we can measure that with a meter, and an oxidation reduction potential meter.
Mm-hmm.
And Pat and I have measured, thousands of water sources and soft drinks and so forth. But very, very briefly, things that are oxidative, that create cell death, have a high positive ORP level.
Mm-hmm.
And things that offset it have a very low ORP, or negative number. And if you look at sodas, sports drinks, bottled water, it runs in the +300 to 400 range.
Okay.
But most of the tap water out there that we've tested runs in the 600 to 800, plus 600 to 800.
So it's actually better to be drinking soda.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
But in this particular metric.
Yeah, if you're only looking at this, it's better.
Real quick, gentlemen, I'm sorry. I just need to say a couple of quick thank yous. James Rohrback is asking, what filter systems do they suggest, if any? I think if you guys have anything that you use, we'll talk about those at the end. And then J9 just gave a super chat. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Okay. So on the antioxidating side, the good side, things like vitamin C is an antioxidant, right? So it's about a -50 on the scale. And green tea is about a -100.
Okay.
But if you make your green tea with water, that's a +680.
You're just reversing any of the good effects.
Yeah, you're not getting an antioxidant benefit out of that.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys go to our link and download the ebook that we were talking about, we'll talk about the filtration and the things that we use. Pat and I have been using this for 10 years, and so has Dr. Colantuna.
All right,
so
I'm going to go ahead and paste that link into the chat, you guys, so that everybody can see it. If you don't get it in the chat, you can always, as always, go to the description of the video right below where you guys see the video description. But here is that link, and you can get that free ebook and then check out more information on this stuff. But don't worry, we've got more information. Continue.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is the pH balance. And, the pH scale runs from 1 to 14. And each point on that scale is a geometric, or is a factor of 10. So 7 being neutral, if you go to a 6 pH, that's 10 times more acidic than 7. If you go to a 5, that's 100 times more, and 4 is 1,000.
Wow.
So a lot of the soft drinks, sports drinks, are very acidic. They're about 2.5 to 4. Okay. So they're tens of thousands of times more acidic than your body should have, basically.
Wow.
One thing that you see over and over again is that people with degenerative type diseases, cancer being one of them, are very acidic. Their body tissue is very acidic.
Yeah, I actually had a friend, he passed away when we were 37. He had drank at least 1 2-liter of Coca-Cola every day since he was about 14 years old, and his body was just, it fell apart, I mean, he hadn't even hit 40 yet, and he was terminally ill. He was going to die, and then he did. It's horrible.
Well, yeah, and it destroys your bones, because your body needs that calcium and magnesium to keep the blood viable.
Yeah,
so
for
it
cellular
will
respiration too.
Yeah, acidity is also caused by stress, which is something to think about.
We have in spades nowadays.
So, the more, on the alkaline scale, the raw fruits, the vegetables, are very, very alkaline. Broccoli is a plus 10, okay, or a pH of 10.
And one thing that most people don't realize is that the pH chart, it goes from 0 to 14, 7 being neutral, but it's a geometric progression. So if you're drinking something that is a 6 pH versus 7, it's not just 1 point difference, it's a factor of 10. So it's 10 times, 6 is 10 times more acidic than 7. 5 is 100 times more acidic than 7. 4 is 1,000 times. And 3 is 10,000 times. So most of your sports drinks and soda pop will fall into that 3 pH, 10,000 times more acidic than 7. So, all these little bodies that are out there playing sports on weekends with sports drinks, their bodies will overcome a lot, but over time, that catches up with you.
Well, if you're starting to get muscle cramps in the fourth quarter of the game, and you slug down a very acidic sports drink, it's not going to help you out much.
No, it won't.
So it's not going to work like you think it would. So I'm going to wrap up here, and I just want to urge everybody to take control of your own health. Nobody's ever going to appreciate your health as much as you do. So, learn about these things, and, knowledge is great, but until you put it into action, it's not going to make a difference. So you need to combine the two. So I'm gonna pass this back to you. I appreciate the time that you gave us to,
of course,
to talk about this.
Now,
and Rick, before we go, I want to urge everybody to go to the link and scroll down 2 or 3 pages and get the ebook. And once you get the ebook, we'll be able to send you the links to all these different research articles and this book, this 225-page book from NIH that we were talking about. So, and again, you know, we appreciate you putting on this type of platform for us to get a message out. So thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. You know, and people are talking about the product. Actually, they're not here to talk about the product, guys. All they're here to talk about is the science behind it. So by all means, check it out. And you know, I mean, you know, again, it's not about the product, but it's about the science. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but the point is to get yourself educated so that you can begin to understand what steps you have to take. And I think one of the easiest steps that you can take is not buying bottled water. Don't get bottled water.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and take questions from the audience now for Dr. Francesca. Dr. Francesca, are you there?
Yes, I'm, excuse me, I'm here. I'd just like to give you a little statement of why I am here.
Please do.
So I'm here tonight really on this presentation, and I'm very happy because I'm very passionate about health and healing. And I've been in the health profession for more than 40 years. And I started as a registered nurse. I graduated from University in New York. And then I went to work in critical care. So in critical care, I began to see many different crises, and therefore I took a closer look at what was going on. One woman, for example, was 39 years old, and she was in to have a cardiac evaluation, and she was having open heart surgery for the third time in 6 months because the valve wouldn't stay in place. So I was her primary care nurse in that critical care area, and her husband was there. Her 11-year-old child was visiting, and she ate some peaches out of a little plastic container on the 5th day, and I can say she was quite depleted in nutrients. She didn't get any vitamin C, which is essential for the growth and repair of new tissue. And she passed away on the 9th day. So this is in a very prestigious hospital. And I went to the coroner because I was so disturbed to see her die. And I said, I want to know why this woman died. And he said, well, I'll tell you if you tell me why you think she died. I said, well, I think she died of malnutrition. And he said, you're 100% correct. She had malnutrition and scurvy, and her tissues were like wet toilet paper. Ugh. So therefore, the stitches would not hold, and they ripped through her tissues, which could not hold that valve in place. Wow. So I'm saying this story because it's very dramatic. Yeah. And it also tells you that we all need to pay close attention to what we're eating and what we're drinking. I got also interested in water living in Maryland and Fort Detrick because I had so many. I told my husband, I see patients that want to take time off their marathon, and I see patients who are very critical and don't know what to do, some of whom have been dismissed by their doctors saying there's nothing else we can do. And so in Fort Detrick, it turns out that on the front page of a paper, this is years ago, a gentleman told a story about his wife having breast cancer and his daughter having brain cancer. And they tested both of them and found them both positive for Agent Orange. Then they tested the water in Frederick, and right there, the water is high in Agent Orange. A woman who helped me clean my home said 6 people had died on her street. So I got more and more interested in water and what it is that we need to do as health professionals to wake people up, to learn what you're actually choosing when you're putting something in your mouth.
Can you tell us how was Agent Orange present in their drinking water? I mean,
because they've done extensive studies on Agent Orange at Fort Detrick for many years, and it got dumped into the water and the river there.
Wow!
So it's right there in Carroll Creek, right in the middle of the city. So it became news, and they had weekly meetings for people to learn about it. But it isn't just Detroit. It isn't just Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. It's all over the place, and from different causes. So I was riding a plane a couple of weeks ago, and the gentleman sitting next to me began to tell me what he did. And he asked me what was the most important thing I discovered in my years in healthcare. And I said, the water you drink and what you're putting in your mouth. So you need information about water. You need information about enzymes. We're all enzyme deficient in this generation. And so we're not properly metabolizing our food. I also had the fortunate experience of being interviewed by the AMA doctor in 2007, who was chosen by George Washington University to open an integrative center off campus and take a look at if they would consider putting it on campus and teaching the med school. So he hired myself, a chiropractor, an applied kinesiologist, and I'm happy to say that center is alive on campus at GW, right around the block from the hospital. Excuse me. So I've watched many things progress over the years. The other thing about people are taking medicine, NSAIDs, to deal with their pain and their joint pain, where when people are drinking the correct water, then they're eliminating the much of the joint pain. When you have a dehydrated joint, you're going to have swelling in that joint. And your joints, especially your vertebrae and your knees, don't give you a lot of room for swelling. So if you're beginning to have joint pain, you can figure out that you have very dehydrated situation in your joints. The other thing is that the NSAIDs, that is the non-steroidal medications that are used to relieve pain, affect, you have two different, what I want to say, one chemical produces healing and the other one inhibits healing.
Okay.
And the NSAIDs actually inhibit the part that encourages healing. And so you have the symptom relief, but the cause continues.
Okay.
So I think it's important for people to realize that a lot of times they think the symptom is saying that the problem is gone, but it's not.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that I think people need to know. People are being exposed to silicone and getting very, very serious consequences from silicone implants. Now, they took the fluid out of the implant, but the implant itself is made of silicone.
And it's still
You're
in
getting
there.
silicone toxicity. And some of the people that have that are in such severe pain they can hardly walk. They have many, many serious side effects. I've seen many patients coming to me with that challenge. However, when they start drinking the right water, their body begins to improve. So you need to have the qualities of the water, like Mike just spoke of, to bring people to a point where their body can begin to heal. Are you going to ask me a question?
Yeah, so I will just the four characteristics of water that we need in order to promote the healing that you're talking about. Can we just go over them one more time? Because we only touched on it just that one time.
Yeah, well, they need to be microclustered.
Okay, and
That
just
means,
can you explain that? Oh, I was just saying, explain what the microcluster means.
Well, okay, the water that comes out of the tap is a pretty large molecule.
Okay.
So it's the water in the bottle. So it is difficult to get into what's called the receptor site in your cell.
Okay.
So the receptor site of your cell needs a microcluster of water so that it can actually hydrate the cell, your heart, your brain, your joints, your skin, everything. Right. They need to be the pH that your body needs, which is more alkaline than the tap water, and they need to be the hydrogen, the antioxidant property of the water needs to be present. So I think if you look at that the book that they're suggesting that you get, that you're going to find out those details and really get yourself educated on what it is that you need to drink. I am absolutely amazed at some of the clients that I've seen and the troubles that they come in with that are overcome with water. One woman in the behavioral health unit not too long ago, she couldn't even speak in sentences. She was speaking in what we call word salad. And so I had to beg the physician. I said, please get this patient to the ER, have her reevaluated. I think her problem is severe dehydration. They took her to the ER. She had to be hydrated. They gave her 2,000 cc's IV of fluid, and she began talking like a normal person again. So I'm just saying there's dramatic situations that people are dramatically begging for help, and the answers are available when you search. I think Pat and Mike and I worked together for more than 20 years, educating people on health issues and the water that we drink. So,
have you yourself had any specific sicknesses that have, perhaps been alleviated by drinking alkaline water?
Well, yeah, I don't, the healthy kind of alkaline water, not the one with sodium bicarb.
Right.
Yes, my joints have improved. I'm a senior citizen. I am on no medicine. My blood work is great, and I don't do a simple blood test as conventional medicine does. I use a different laboratory that gives me a very detailed result of my blood chemistry, micronutrients. One thing people don't realize is conventional medicine, for example, tests your cholesterol, your total cholesterol, your HDLs, and your LDLs. Do you know how they get the LDL number?
No, I don't.
They subtract your HDLs from your total, which tells you nothing about your LDLs. One. Number two, in the studies of cholesterol, there are no centurions with low LDLs. And yet they've been giving you medicine to lower your LDLs. We need healthy LDLs. So unhealthy LDLs have particles on them. One of the blood tests that I use, or other holistic health practitioners, gives you a result of the particles. So if you have healthy LDLs, you don't need to lower them. And there are nutrients out there that we use that help people to help their liver function properly so they can manage their LDLs. And of course, they need to be drinking healthy water. Your liver depends on it for healthy function. Right. I have some patients that tell me, well, I get enough liquid, but I drink juice. Well, no, you're not drinking water when you're drinking juice.
Yeah.
And I suggest that people give up all those other drinks and drink just water, at least for 3 months, till I get them on a balanced program. So I don't know if that gives you another insight into the challenges that are out there.
No, definitely. It seems like a lot of things that are suggested in modern medicine today. There's a lot of fads, like the whole statin drugs for your cholesterol. That was huge for years. And then, just a couple years ago, it just came out like, well, it's actually useless. Don't take statin drugs because they're doing nothing.
Don't take statin
and
drugs.
They're
in
fluoridated.
2008, the cover of, I think it was Time magazine, and the big word on there was inflammation.
Yep.
And the water that you want to drink decreases inflammation because it's antioxidant properties.
Yep.
A free radical damage on your cell is an oxygen radical, and that's what you want to remove. That's what refers to the term antioxidant.
Yes. Now, someone, J9 had asked about places to get independent testing on water. Have you guys, do you guys have any specific places that you've ever used, in your studies over the years?
I'll take that.
Mark? Yeah, Mike or Pat can respond to that.
There's, if you go to watercheck.com, it's National Testing Laboratories.
Okay.
And you can do extensive testing there for herbicides, for all types of contaminants in the water. And recently, they've just come out with a glyphosate test.
That's good.
Because that's becoming a huge problem in water now.
Okay, so that was watertest.com?
WaterCheck.
Oh, WaterCheck, pardon me.
WaterCheck.com.
There you go, guys. All right, and Victoria Martin also just gave a super chat. Thank you very much. How about you, gentlemen? Has there been any specific sickness or ailment that you have been able to kind of self-alleviate as a result of drinking properly alkalinized water?
Well, I told you a little bit about my challenge.
Yeah.
30 years ago with my kidneys. And, I've spent a lot of time and effort on a lot of different things over the years to try to detoxify and support my body naturally. Mm-hmm. And, but I never really got to the level I wanted to be at until I started drinking the proper kind of water. And, that was about 10 years ago. And what I saw at that point was just increased energy, less joint pain, and, better sleep at night.
That's huge.
So it makes a huge difference, but it all depends on where you're at on the journey, what effect you're going to get or what you're really going to feel.
Yeah. So, and again, I had asked you before, what is the proper pH level of water to be drinking? And you said, alkalinized, it depends on what it is specifically that you're doing and what you're using the water for. But in a general sense, if someone was going to be drinking alkaline water on a regular basis, what pH would you recommend that they're drinking?
Well, if you have an extremely healthy lifestyle and you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, you don't have any stress in your life, you're not doing a lot of acidic things, low protein and so forth, I would say 7.5 to 8 may be adequate.
Okay.
If you're a person that has a very acidic diet, a lot of stress, a lot of other environmental factors going on, it could be 8.5 to 9.5 pH. It depends on where you're at and what you're trying to achieve.
So is there like a cumulative effect in your body if you've been drinking very acidic things over a very long period of time? Would you have to compensate by drinking, more alkalinized water for a specific period of time in order to rebalance your body?
Yeah. Francesca, do you want to take that, or do you want to?
Yeah, I think that's a very important factor. I don't start people. I start people on a pH, like Mike said, of around 8, and may advance them up to the 9.5. I can say my husband, for example, he used to leap out of bed with muscle spasms, but he was playing and still does play on senior softball. So he was playing on 4 different leagues, and he plays racquetball. And getting him on the right water has eliminated that horrifying effect. And athletes too. We work with athletes, and it's very important that they keep their body out of that acid condition. So people that are healthy do that. But most of us, as I find, especially the people that I say, either athletes or people that are quite ill, need to begin to work their way into being on a alkaline water pH. So I think that's important. And if you get that ebook, I think you'll learn more about it. But there's many different uses for water in different pHs, and there's a lot more to learn about it.
Right. Well, and I have actually taken a look at the literature, so I know about those various uses, and I highly recommend that everybody else goes and takes a look at it because it's pretty interesting. It's very, very enlightening, eye-opening. Doctor, let's say that someone comes into your practice and they have, you know, is there a test that you would do for them, like initially, just to see, like, you know, what type of fitness level or where they're at in their journey, and what type of water you would have them drinking, what level pH?
Well, yeah, I check the pH of their urine and the pH of their saliva and look at the balance or imbalance of that. I also have them have a very detailed lab assessment with a company called SpectraCell. So we get, it's like a book of, you know, everything from your micronutrients to your hormones. And I also add to that the DHEA level. So, you know, getting a very good basic look at the patient and then their own symptoms and complaints before really pushing them into a detailed program. We get them started with the basics, of course, and then after about 3 weeks, we add or subtract and balance things out. So that's sort of a quick answer for a complicated presentation, especially some patients that come to me in very, very serious states. Especially some patients come to me and their doctors have told them, oh, there's nothing else we can do for you. I have a friend who has Parkinson's, and his neurologist said, I can't do anything else for you. So when you get patients like that, then you start on a brand new challenge.
Were you able to do anything for that specific patient?
Well, yeah, getting him on the right water made a major difference. I took him in and kept him at the house for a couple of weeks, and we worked with him to get him to the point where he could, you know, even his jaw was shaking, so he couldn't drink except to walk up to the water and drink it from a straw. He couldn't even hold the cup. Wow. So, you know, people are desperate for guidance, and I really want to acknowledge you for having this time for people to get educated. As I think working in critical care is what I said. The most important thing we can really do is help people discover what they need to do so they don't end up in that circumstance.
Right. I just saw one other question, and it was touched on earlier in the program, but your body will always be within a particular pH range. What is that pH range again?
Well, they test your pH, but the 7.35 to 7.45, that's just you know, they do your blood and they do your blood pH, okay, to make sure that that they're keeping you in a safe range, especially when you're in a critical care unit.
Right. All right. And let's see. Lisa Lady just asked, can you ask if seizures can improve with the right water? My daughter has had seizures for years and we can't get them under control.
Yes, I think I have seen that change. Seizures, migraines, definitely, and even autistic patients. There's some of the practitioners that actually specialize in that. There's a woman in the Midwest that specializes in that. But I think if you start with that ebook and you get in touch with the contact there, that you can we can point you in more specific direction. But I would say yes, there is hope for that. I've seen the results.
All right. Excellent. All right, guys. Well, we are coming up on just 5 minutes before the hour, and so we're going to close out right now. Did you have anything final that you wanted to leave us with, Doctor, or Mike and Pat, anything you guys wanted to say here to close us out?
I can stress the importance of hydration. And what I say, it's learn the wonders of water. I call it a wow.
It's cute.
Well, And one thing too is that what we really stress is for people to take control. And there's things that we can't control. There's things that we can, and we all need to learn the difference. But there's things we have absolute control of, and that can make a huge difference in our life.
Well, and
I want to say, let me just say that NIH book that Pat referred to, I think it's on page 100. It tells you that the most important thing you do is take control of your life, that you have to begin to take control, and you have to begin to expect and demand that the physician gives you a thorough evaluation instead of a cursory one.
Excellent.
Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
well, we all have choices, and every day we make hundreds of choices on various things. And over a lifetime, those add up to a huge result, one way or another. So I encourage people to make good choices. First of all, get the information you need from a reliable source to make those choices and take action.
And also focus on self-education, because the more you know, the better off you are. And the powers to be, the press, everybody's trying to dummy us down. And we need to be going the other way. We need to learn more so we can be better. And so, again, Red Pill, thank you for what you're doing. We do appreciate it.
Well, thank you all for joining me tonight.
Go for your wellness journey.
It's a good recommendation. Thank you very much, Doctor. And okay, thank you everybody for coming in here tonight. Don't forget, you guys, you can get the book down below. We're going to say goodnight to my guests, and then we're going to hit up just a couple of quick headlines. So thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll see ya.
Okay.
And
Okay.
end meeting for all. There we go. All right, guys. Awesome. So just a couple of quick things here. James Rohrbach says, which water filter system do they use? They use, I believe it, I don't know the name of it, but there's information in the free book that you can reach out to them and get from them. Okay, somebody else already hid them. Thank you very much. All right, so yeah, obviously, not everybody's a health nut or wants to know this information, but I thought that this was great information. I want to thank everyone for being here with us tonight. I just want to make an announcement before we start seeing people drop off. Tomorrow, at the beginning of the live stream, the Red Pill 78 merch store is going to launch. We are going to be live with all kinds of awesome hoodies, t-shirts, long sleeve shirts. I think maybe there's going to be some phone cases in there, maybe a coffee cup, because everybody knows I love coffee. Gotta love it. But again, there's more information in the free ebook. And the point was that they weren't here to do a commercial for a product. They wanted to just talk about the information that is important, which is learning about the type of water that you use and what what's in your water and what you should be doing with the stuff that you're putting in your body. I don't drink soft drinks. I don't drink bottled water. I really, the only thing that I drink is the water that I prepare at myself at home. I just wanted to say thank you. I believe Paul Marshall gave a donation at the beginning of the show. And no, I'm sorry, it was Larry Penrose. Larry said, shout out for Lady Liberty's Cash App name. Where we go one, we go all. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who gave Super Chats tonight. Thank you to everybody who liked and shared the show. And thank you to everyone for being here with me tonight. And I'm just asking for your thoughts and prayers this time for myself. It's been a bit of a rough week, but I'm going to survive. Yeah, so I just thanks everybody for coming here and being on the show with me tonight. Real quick, we've got one headline that I wanted to go over. Looks like newly released FBI docs reveal that the property related to Hillary Clinton's use of a private server is missing. How convenient. How convenient. The FBI just goes and loses evidence in a case that has to do with Hillary Clinton. Because, of course, we know that they don't want to do it with Hillary. They don't want to investigate Hillary ever. The FBI on Friday released more documents related to its investigation into Hillary Clinton's private server, thanks to a FOIA lawsuit by Judicial Watch. The FBI once again lost property related to the investigation into Hillary's private email server. The special agents looked through all case materials in the CI-13 file and Worksbox area. However, they were not able to locate this item. This one item. Incredible, you guys. It never ceases to amaze me. Never ceases to amaze me how sloppy the FBI gets when they are investigating Hillary Clinton. All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining me. Oh, I have one more notification. Next week, next Friday, we are going to move the Friday night live stream from 9 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be from 10 till midnight now, instead of 9 to 11. That will give a lot more people the opportunity to watch Hannity, because I know that a lot of my audience likes to watch Hannity. I like to watch Hannity. I just catch it later, not when it's live. And then every Saturday is still going to be 9 to 11. So I will see you guys back here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to be here with Mike Volpe. He is a journalist who has written some excellent articles for places like WND and the Daily Caller. We're going to be talking about medical kidnapping and corruption in the judicial system. Also, there's been a story in the news just earlier today. An Arkansas woman was arrested for falsifying drug tests so that they could steal the children in Arkansas. And this story ties in nicely with that. And then in the second hour, Thomas, my brother Thomas from True Reporting, is going to be joining me, and we're going to be doing a rundown of the news, everything that happened this week that was fit to talk about. So, as always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pilled News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.